Well, hey y'all, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. I'm Susan, your hostess. We are doing some frugal living today, and I'm going to share with you some items that we picked up from the local Amish, and I need to get it jarred up, some of it. So let me grab this back here. We picked up some hot cucumber relish, and I think these were $3.50 or $4 a jar, so that's not bad on their relish. We also picked up a hot chow chow relish. My husband likes things that are hot, so these will be things in the pantry that he will use on the side of his plates or on top of food. And then I make a sweet squash relish, but this one is a hot sweet squash relish. So it's got hot peppers in it, and my husband loves it. And we also picked up a pint of molasses because molasses is so good for you. It contains chromium and so many other good things. And you know, the old timers always had a jar sitting on the counter or on their kitchen table, and they would mix it with butter and sop it up with a good old biscuit or a slice of bread. Yum, yum. We also went to our local Mennonite store, and I picked up some more of the almond flour. And this bag was $7.96. It's 1.29 pounds. I also was out of the nutritional yeast because we use it with our ducks and our chickens, our dogs. But I bought this specifically for an upcoming video project that I need to get done. So this one was $9.28. It was 0.805 pounds. A pound of this would cost $11.53. And that is at our local Mennonite store. I also picked up some mugwort for tea. Some no salt substitute, and all of these were half price, by the way. Some ground sage. I'm going to go back and tell you the prices. And some arrowroot. And I'm going to start with arrowroot. It's normally $8.68 a pound. This container holds 2.35 pounds. It was marked $2.04, so I got this container for $1.02. The ground sage was $19.22 a pound. This contains 0.155 pounds. It was marked $2.98, so approximately $1.50 for that one. The no salt substitute was 0.230 pounds. It cost $14.78 a pound, and it was marked $3.40, so $1.70 for that big container. And then the mugwort was 0.075 pounds. It's $36 a pound, y'all. It was marked $2.70, so I got that for what? $1.35. We're going to go and check out what mugwort is good for before we get into what I'm doing with my apple cider hooch that didn't turn to vinegar. So I'm looking in Rosemary Gladstar's Herbal Recipes for Vibrant Health book, and on page 205 it tells you about mugwort. I'm not going to try to pronounce the medicinal name for it, but it is a bitter digestive tonic and liver stimulant. It also functions as a uterine stimulant and aids in bringing on or delayed or suppressed menstruation, helps to regulate the cycles of young women entering into their menses. So with all medicinals, you need to understand that I am not a medical doctor, and I'll have a disclaimer below, but I wanted to share that with you, that I am building my apothecary, my home apothecary, one herb at a time until I have everything that I want in my apothecary, and I'll find uses for this, I'm sure, to make teas and tinctures out of. So that is mugwort. Now, this was done in September of 2024. What I think happened was I put a cap on this before this finished the fermentation cycle of making the mother. And it does have what looks to be like mother in the bottom. However, it's inactive. And it is like a very strong wine. And I don't have a test kit to tell you what the proof is on this, but I could get one and I could turn this into extracts if it is a high enough proof for an extract. So that would be another use for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you down. We're going to strain it, and we're going to add some active apple cider vinegar with mother into that, and we're going to try to get that revived to make a vinegar out of to put on my pantry shelf. So we're going to do it like we did with the other vinegar, and we're going to cap this off with a coffee filter, but you can also use cheesecloth because vinegar draws gnats. You don't want them in your product. So we have plenty of them flying in the house right now because we got a big basket of pears sitting waiting for me to get to. So I have a clean jar, I have a funnel, and I have a little way to filter out anything that is impure in this vinegar, or this hooch at this point. And you can hear it. It's got a little bit of a kick to it. And it actually smells like alcohol. So I'm just going to filter out all that old hooch or old mother in the bottom, and wash my jars and reuse them for another project. And I'm going to do them one at a time. We're just going to simply dump that. And I'm going to bring my vinegar over here. We're going to put some vinegar in there. So for whatever reason, this was also from 924, and the mother actually made it. So we're going to get that top off. And I'm just going to add a couple of tablespoons to the hooch. Cover it. I'm actually going to cover my vinegar because there's flies flying around, little gnats. And I'm out of the rubber bands, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop this a couple of times, bring it over, and I'm going to tie this. So hopefully this works. Yeah, there it goes. And I'll be checking this in about a month or so just to see if it is turning into vinegar as we hope. So that's all I'm doing to these jars. So let me get the other two jars done. Now you don't want to use it if it feels slimy or it's got mold on it. So you would toss that if it has either one of those. And you want to make sure you're only using one filter. So you want to loop it a couple of times and then put it over your jar. Make sure your string's long enough. And then you're going to tie it off. So we're going to get that on there. Trying to push it down a little further. There we go. And I'm going to tie it off. And you can make it long enough to tie a bow, or you can tie a knot, or you can just tie it where it'll slip off either way. And we should get some good vinegar out of this, hopefully. Can you see all that stuff at the bottom? That was actually from the mother trying to form, but it didn't have any oxygen in there. No air could get to it, so it wasn't making the mother. So I killed the mother basically by putting my bands on too soon. So this is the last one. And the reason I'm using 2 tablespoons is I want to make sure I've got a good amount of that active liquid with the mother going into these jars. So hopefully in a few weeks I can come back and I can show you that this has indeed turned to vinegar. So we don't want to toss it if we don't have to. Bring that on around and tie it off. So I'll mark my calendar and I will put this in my pantry in a dark, cool room. You can put it under a cabinet or something and just go and buy and check it. You don't really have to open it up. Just check it. The liquid should become more clear like this one is. So that is the first thing I'm doing today. And the second one is I've got to get all of this stuff into jars. So I've pulled out a clean funnel. I have several of these, by the way, and some clean jars. And I will put a bay leaf or an oxygen absorber in each one of these to make them last long term and get them into my pantry shelves. So let me find my bag with my bay leaf, because I'm out of the oxygen absorbers right now. I need to order some. And I'm just going to place a bay leaf in the top. I do this with all of my herbs and with my dry goods. Either a bay leaf, I'll seal them with the food saver attachment, or I will put an oxygen absorber in them. So this one I'm going to label everything. No salt seasoning. I'm going to put it on the side as well because I want to be able to know what I'm grabbing when I look at the jar from the side. So no salt season. Next one is going to be the ground sage. And you want to stand back because it's dusty. And I may wipe this out because it's got a little bit of that sage powder in there. And I probably could have put that in a 1/2 pint jar. But I'll probably go back and buy some more since they had some on their clearance and just fill my jar all the way up. And these will go into our pantry because we have some of this seasoning already on our pantry in the kitchen. I know the ground sage will. And so that will go into the pantry closet. The no seasoned salt, however, this one will go into my pantry in my kitchen, my little herbal seasoning. Let me get this funnel cleaned up and we'll be right back. This is the mugwort, and it will be used as a tea or in a tea blend. It kind of has a woodsy green smell to it. And I do believe that has the seed and everything in there. Oh, got to put the bay leaf in. And get the jar labeled. I need to wipe this down one more time because this is arrowroot and I don't want mugwort in my arrowroot. So I use arrowroot in place of cornstarch. It doesn't spike the sugar as bad, but I also use other things in place of the starches. I'll use okra powder or zucchini powder. Sometimes I use the tomato powder, depending on the dish, as a thickening agent. And this is why I always wipe them down after each use and why I did this one last. So again, if I can get another one of those on sale, I'll finish out the jar. This one will go into my kitchen pantry because I'm actually out of it. And just a simple label saying arrowroot on it, just so I know what it is. So we've got our vinegars working. Let me turn the camera just a bit. We've got our vinegars back here working, and we've got these done up. Make sure my labels are good on there. And we have our flour and our nutritional yeast to do. So let me move these back. Get them out of the way, and I'm going to get a half-gallon jar for this. I'm not sure how much of this I have, but I might do this in pints so that I don't have to pull it all out at one time. So I decided I would go ahead and do my almond flour first, and I have pulled out a clean funnel. And now you know why I pulled out a half-gallon jar. I have almost a full half-gallon of that. We're going to go ahead and throw our bay leaf in there. This gets used up rather quickly because it is almonds, and nuts will go rancid over time. So you want to make sure that you're using up your almond flour rather quickly. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it back here, and we're going to set one of the apple cider vinegars on top. And now I'm going to wipe this down, and then I'm going to move on to my nutritional yeast. Okay, so we're going to put the nutritional yeast in these two jars. I've already labeled them, and I've got my labels ready for the lids. So the reason I take my items out of plastic is your enemy. Plastic will leach into your food over time. I also don't keep food stored in cardboard boxes for the reason that rodents can chew through plastic, and they can chew through cardboard as well. So, and you can get dampness in your food from plastics and from cardboard. Let's see. I may need another jar. Yep, I'm going to need another jar. Can y'all see all that left in there? That's why I used a new one. Okay, so I've got my nutritional yeast set up. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop in a bay leaf in each jar. And like I said, I have projects for this, but we also use this with our animals and for us. So let's get these lids on. And there's our nutritional yeast. So we've done quite a bit this morning getting things out of the plastic. I really need to take these out of plastic and put them in a jar as well. So I got a couple of these jars. And I'm just going to put them in there because they will last so much longer. And like I said, the plastic is really not good for storing food long term. Alrighty, we have bay leaf. I don't need to label these, I know what they are. But if you're not familiar with bay leaf, it has a lot of medicinal values. And I picked these jars up for $2 a piece and washed them and got them ready. So a lot of foods ready for long-term storage. We'll be checking back on our hooch to turn into apple cider vinegar, along with the pear vinegar, which is working in my pantry right now, still fermenting. And then my husband is going to have some treats. The molasses I don't store in my pantry because it stays cool in there. I put this up in one of my cabinets because we want to keep it liquid because it contains sugar. And it would harden over time in a cold storage situation. I live in a no waste type situation, and we really should not be wasting any type of food if we can save it. So this was hooch, and I'm turning it back into vinegar. So it started out as scrap apple vinegar, and I didn't let it sit out with an open filter on it so it would get oxygen into the jar. And the filter is really to keep the insects out of it. But hopefully in a few weeks we have a good vinegar out of this, and I'll be back to let you know how it turns out. It's all about frugal living. This is Frugal Living Challenge 25, hosted by me, the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. It is open until the end of December. All the information will be in the description box along with the playlist. And if you want to jump on board, just jump on board. Make sure you're tagging my channel using the hashtag Frugal Living Challenge 25 and attaching the official playlist in your description boxes. We also are intentionally living on the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. So by buying our seasons in bulk, we save a lot of money. If we don't grow it, we buy it, but we buy it in bulk, and when we get it for a discount, we're saving even more money. So these were really inexpensive. Do you know how much it costs to get a little bitty jar of ground sage in the store? It's crazy. nutritional yeast is very, very healthy for us. And I have an idea of how to use this. So I'll be sharing that in a future video. And of course, we don't mind spending a little more when we go down to our Amish community, because this is how they make their money. And if the jar is $3.50 or $4 a jar, but the product is something you can't get in the store, it's worth buying. I promise you, you will love it. And we love it. We haven't gotten sick off any of their foods. It is perfectly safe. And these have vinegar in them. Here's the other two. So they're safe. And it's something that we would not normally get. Although I can probably figure out the recipe and can it myself, I still prefer to support our local Amish. It's all about slower living, intentionally, getting things done a little at a time, and building your pantry. If you don't have time to can and dehydrate vegetables yourself, you certainly have time to make sure that your products that you're buying in the grocery stores come out of those plastic bags and plastic containers and cardboard boxes, and get them stored properly so that they will last a long time on your pantry shelves. Canned goods like this, always read your label, know exactly what's in there, look for simple ingredients, because when that long list of ingredients in there, I guarantee you there's something synthetic that's been added and you don't want to put it in your body. The other thing I do with these is I check the date on the bottom, and I will write the date, just the year on the top, because that tells me, you know, I've got a little more time on that product, even past that date, because that's the best buy date. But when you store these in a cool, dark place, it prolongs the life of them as well. Here's some of our homegrown sweet basil from this year. I'm so proud of the amount of basil we got this year. Here's some content I think you might like. Thank you for visiting our homestead. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, hype, and share to help our small channel grow. See you next time for more simple living, frugal tips, and farmyard fun.